The distant edge of the Orion Arm wasn't known for its hospitality. Captain Sarah Chen knew this better than most as she stood on the bridge of the HSS Thunderbolt, her eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the debris field ahead. The remains of 3 merchant vessels drifted silently through space, their hulls torn apart by weapons fire that was far too precise to be random pirate work. Analysis complete, Captain. Lieutenant Marcus Rivera reported from his station. The attack patterns suggest coordinated strikes from multiple vectors. These weren't ordinary pirates. They knew exactly what they were doing. Sarah nodded, her expression grim. The Thunderbolt had been patrolling this sector for the past 3 months, responding to increasing reports of sophisticated pirate attacks. But this was different. This was an escalation. Life signs, she asked, though she already knew the answer. None detected, but we're picking up residual energy signatures from escape pods. Looks like most of the crew made it out. Rivera paused, his fingers dancing across his haptic interface. Captain, there's something else. The ship's quantum cores weren't breached or damaged. They were extracted. Cleanly. That caught Sarah's attention. Quantum cores were valuable. Yes, but they were also notoriously difficult to remove without causing a catastrophic breach. The technical expertise required to pull off such a feat narrowed down their list of suspects considerably. Commander Walsh, Sarah called to her XO. What do we know about pirate groups operating in this sector with that kind of technical capability? James Walsh, a veteran of 3 deep space conflicts, pulled up his own display. Only one group fits the profile, Captain. The Shadowclaw Syndicate. They've been pushing into human space for the past year, but this is the first time they've hit ships this close to our core worlds. Sarah had heard of the Shadowclaw Syndicate. They were an alliance of various alien species, predominantly led by the Vorkath, a race of cybernetically enhanced warriors who viewed technological superiority as the ultimate form of evolution. They were known for their advanced ships and precise surgical strikes, always targeting vessels with valuable tech they could salvage and integrate into their own systems. They're getting bold, Sarah mused, studying the debris pattern. These merchant ships were under Terran Federation protection. The syndicates never directly challenged human military authority before. Maybe they think we're stretched too thin, Walsh suggested. With the Centauri border dispute and the Rigel peacekeeping operation, our patrol presence in this sector has been reduced by 60%. Sarah's lips curved into a slight smile. Then they don't know much about human military doctrine, do they? We don't need numbers to be effective. The bridge crew exchanged knowing looks. The HSS Thunderbolt wasn't just any patrol vessel. It was one of humanity's newest Wraith-class stealth destroyers. While other species focused on building bigger ships with more powerful weapons, humanity had taken a different approach. The Wraith-class vessels were smaller, faster, and incorporated technology that made them nearly invisible to conventional scanning methods. Deploy our sensor drones, Sarah ordered. Full passage sweep of the sector. If the syndicate's still in the area, they'll have left traces we can follow. And get me a direct line to command. They need to know what we're dealing with. As her crew carried out their orders with practiced efficiency, Sarah couldn't help but feel a certain anticipation building. The Shadowclaw Syndicate had clearly done their homework on human shipping routes and patrol patterns, but they'd made one critical mistake. They assumed that because humans weren't as technologically advanced as some other species, they would be easy prey. They were about to learn why that was a dangerous assumption. Humanity hadn't survived and thrived in an often hostile galaxy by being the strongest or most advanced. They'd done it by being clever, adaptable, and absolutely ruthless when pushed into a corner. Captain, Rivera called out, his voice tight with excitement. Drones are picking up irregular gravitational distortions at the edge of the Kelvin Nebula. Matches known syndicate cloaking signatures. Plot an intercept course, Sarah commanded, settling into her captain's chair. But keep us at extreme range for now. If they want to hunt in our territory, Let's show them what it feels like to be the prey. The HS Thunderbolt slipped silently through space, its advanced stealth systems making it virtually undetectable. As they closed in on their quarry, Sarah thought about all the species who had underestimated humanity throughout history. The Shadowclaw Syndicate was about to join that long list of those who learned the hard way. Technology wasn't everything. Sometimes, the most dangerous predator was the one you never saw coming. The Kelvin Nebula stretched before them like a cosmic tapestry, its swirling gases creating an ever-shifting barrier of purples and blues. The HSS Thunderbolt glided silently through the stellar mist, its advanced sensors probing the darkness for their quarry. Captain Sarah Chen hadn't moved from her position for the past 4 hours, her dark eyes fixed on the tactical display. Multiple contacts, Lieutenant Rivera announced suddenly, his voice cutting through the bridge's tension. Reading 7. No, 9 vessels decloaking. Shadowclaw signatures confirmed. They're arranging themselves in a theta pattern. Sarah's expression remained neutral, though internally her mind was racing. 9 ships. The Syndicate had committed a significant portion of their fleet to this operation. This wasn't just a raiding party, it was an invasion force. They're hailing us, Commander Walsh reported, surprise evident in his tone. Broadcasting on all frequencies. Let's hear what they have to say, Sarah replied, straightening in her chair. The bridge's speakers crackled to life, and a deep metallic voice filled the air. Human vessel, this is Archon Vextor of the Shadowclaw Syndicate. Your presence here is unexpected, but not unwelcome. You are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender your ship, and we will grant your crew mercy. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Archon Vextor, this is Captain Chen of the HSS Thunderbolt. I'm afraid you've made several miscalculations. Would you like to know what they are? There was a pause before the Archon responded, his artificial voice carrying a hint of amusement. By all means, Captain. Enlighten us before we disable your vessel. First, Sarah began, nodding to Walsh, who began inputting commands into his console. You assume we came alone. Second, you believe your technology gives you an insurmountable advantage. And third, you think we're surrounded. The Archon's laughter echoed through the bridge. Your species' reputation for bravado is well documented, Captain. But I see no other ships coming to your aid, and our scans show your vessel's capabilities are significantly inferior to even one of our cruisers. About those scans, Sarah replied, her smile widening. Commander Walsh, if you would. Walsh pressed a final button, and suddenly the Thunderbolt's outer hull began to shift. Layers of metamaterial plating that had been masking the ship's true nature peeled away like petals opening to the sun. Where there had appeared to be a simple patrol vessel, now stood revealed a state-of-the-art warship bristling with weapons. Interesting fact about humans, Archon, Sarah continued as her ship's true form was revealed. We learned long ago that looking weak can be the greatest strength. Your scans showed you exactly what we wanted you to see. The Archon's response was immediate. All ships, open fire. Disable that vessel. But the Syndicate ship's first volley passed harmlessly through the space where the Thunderbolt had appeared to be. The real ship was already moving, its advanced propulsion systems pushing it through a series of maneuvers that should have been impossible for a vessel its size. Target their lead ship, Sarah commanded. Show them what a human inferior vessel can do. The Thunderbolt's main weapon, a proprietary human innovation called the Cascade Cannon, powered up. Unlike conventional energy weapons, it fired a stream of particles that multiplied exponentially upon impact, overwhelming shields and penetrating hull plating at a molecular level. The lead Syndicate ship's shields flared brilliant blue as the Cascade Cannon's beam struck them, then collapsed completely as the particle stream overwhelmed their frequencies. The beam continued through, cutting a clean line across the vessel's hull. Multiple secondary explosions detected on the target, Rivera reported with professional detachment. Their power grid is cascading. They're dropping out of formation. The other ships are adjusting their positions, Walsh added. They're trying to establish a firing solution, but our countermeasures are keeping them confused. Sarah leaned forward in her chair. Send the signal. Throughout the nebula, dormant sensor drones that the Thunderbolt had secretly deployed during its approach suddenly activated. Each one began broadcasting false sensor signatures, creating phantom ships that appeared and disappeared at random. To the Syndicate sensors, it would appear as if they were suddenly surrounded by dozens of human vessels appearing from nowhere. Action. Sarah broadcast again, her voice carrying a hint of steel now. I suggest you reconsider your position. While your ships are technologically impressive, we've been studying your tactics for months. Every move you make, we've already planned for. Every advantage you think you have, we've already countered. The Syndicate ships had stopped firing, their formation broken as they tried to track the phantom signals appearing all around them. When Vexter's voice came again, the artificial confidence was gone. What are you? The Archon demanded. We're human, Sarah replied simply. And you're about to learn why that should worry you. All batteries, target their engines. Let's show the Syndicate why picking a fight with humanity was their worst mistake yet. The next few minutes aboard the HS Thunderbolt were a masterclass in human combat doctrine. While other species relied on overwhelming force or technological superiority, humanity had learned to fight smarter, not harder. The Thunderbolt danced through space like a phantom, its movements unpredictable yet precisely calculated. Target their secondary vessels first, Sarah ordered, her voice calm despite the chaos unfolding on the tactical displays. Take away the Archon's support structure. The Cascade cannon spoke again, its particle beam cutting through the void. 2 more Syndicate ships found their shields overwhelmed, their hulls breached by the devastating weapon. But the pirates weren't going down without a fight. Multiple torpedo launches detected, Rivera warned. They're using their quantum-guided munitions. Sarah had been waiting for this. Activate the Babel protocol. Commander Walsh's fingers flew across his console, initiating one of humanity's most closely guarded defensive innovations. The space around the Thunderbolt rippled as dozens of quantum field generators activated simultaneously, creating a maze of conflicting signals that played havoc with the torpedo's guidance systems. The Vorkath relied too heavily on their automated systems, Sarah explained to her bridge crew as they watched the torpedoes spiral harmlessly into the nebula. They never developed countermeasures for quantum interference because they couldn't imagine anyone creating weapons that would deliberately corrupt quantum fields. Captain, Walsh interjected, the Archon's flagship is moving into position. They're charging their main weapon array. The massive Syndicate vessel loomed before them, its crystalline hull gleaming with internal energy. The Vorkath were known for their devastating particle beam weapons, capable of bypassing most conventional shields. They still think this is about firepower, Sarah mused. Lieutenant Rivera, deploy the mirror drones. A swarm of tiny objects erupted from the Thunderbolt's launch tubes, spreading out in a precise pattern between the 2 ships. Each drone was essentially a sophisticated mirror, designed to reflect and redirect energy weapons. The Archon's ship fired, its particle beam lancing out with enough power to vaporize a small moon. But as the beam struck the field of mirror drones, something remarkable happened. The energy was caught, reflected, and redirected, right back at the Syndicate fleet. Multiple direct hits, Rivera reported with satisfaction. 3 more enemy vessels disabled. Their formation is completely broken. Sarah opened a channel to the Archon's ship. Still think we're outgunned, Vextor. Your ships are advanced, I'll give you that. But you made the classic mistake of assuming that technological superiority equals tactical superiority. The Archon's response was filled with static and fury. Impossible. Our systems are generations ahead of yours. Our weapons are unmatched in this sector. And yet here we are. Sarah replied. You know what makes humans different from the Vorkath, Archon. We never stopped fighting the old ways. While you were perfecting your quantum computers and AI targeting systems, we were still training our crews to fight manually. While you were building bigger ships with more powerful weapons, we were developing ways to turn your own strength against you. As if to emphasize her point, the Thunderbolt executed a series of maneuvers that brought it directly behind one of the remaining Syndicate vessels. A precise burst from its conventional railguns, simple, kinetic weapons that the Vorkath considered primitive, shattered the ship's engine housing. "Your shields are designed to stop energy weapons and plasma torpedoes," Sarah continued. "But sometimes a chunk of accelerated metal is all you need. We learned long ago not to put all our trust in any single technology or tactic." The remaining Syndicate ships were now trying to retreat, their once perfect formation dissolved into chaos. But the Thunderbolt had positioned itself perfectly, using the nebula's gas clouds to restrict their escape routes. "Last chance, Archon," Sarah broadcast. "Surrender your fleet and release the coordinates of all your hidden bases in this sector. Or we can continue this demonstration of why humanity's primitive approach to warfare is more effective than you thought." The bridge crew waited tensely for the Archon's response. They had won this battle, but Sarah knew this was just the beginning. The Shadowclaw Syndicate wouldn't take this humiliation lightly. But that was exactly what she was counting on. Sometimes you had to win the first battle decisively to avoid fighting a longer war. "Your victory here means nothing," Vexter finally responded. "The Syndicate is vast. We will return with a force that even your clever tricks cannot defeat." Sarah smiled. "I was hoping you'd say that, because now you're going to learn the second lesson about humanity. We don't just win battles. We make sure our enemies never want to fight us again." The aftermath of the battle had left the Kelvin Nebula eerily quiet. 6 Syndicate vessels drifted powerless, their crews evacuated to their surviving ships. The Archon's flagship and 2 escorts had managed to limp away. But Captain Sarah Chen wasn't concerned. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. "Status of the tracking beacons?" she asked, studying the tactical display where tiny dots marked the retreating Syndicate vessels. Lieutenant Rivera checked his readings. "All functioning perfectly, Captain. The quantum interference from our attack masked their deployment. The Syndicate has no idea they're carrying our hardware. Their arrogance works in our favor," Commander Walsh added. "They're so convinced of their technological superiority that they never consider someone might use simpler methods against them." Sarah nodded, remembering the tiny, practically microscopic devices that had been scattered during the battle. They weren't sophisticated by Vorkath standards, just basic transponders using frequencies so old that modern ships didn't even scan for them anymore. "Begin data compilation from the captured vessels," she ordered. "I want to know everything about their operations in this sector. And get me a secure channel to Admiral Harrison. It's time for Phase 2. While her crew worked, Sarah reflected on the larger strategy at play. The Thunderbolt's mission wasn't just about stopping a few pirate raids. It was about dismantling the entire Shadowclaw Syndicate. The battle they'd just won was merely the opening move. "Channel established," Walsh reported. "Admiral Harrison is standing by." The holographic display flickered to life, showing the weathered face of Admiral Elena Harrison, commander of the Terran Federation's Special Operations Division. "Impressive work, Captain Chen. I take it our assumptions about the Syndicate's tactics proved correct. Perfect correlation with the predicted patterns." "Admiral," Sarah confirmed. "They rely almost exclusively on their advanced technology. When faced with unconventional warfare methods, their response was exactly what we expected: confusion followed by retreat." "Excellent. The other pieces are already in motion. The Shadowclaw Syndicate has been a thorn in our side for too long, trying to establish themselves in human space. It's time we showed them why that was a mistake." Sarah pulled up a new display, showing the movement of the tagged Syndicate vessels. "They're heading toward the Perseus Arm, just as intelligence suggested. Their main base is likely in that region. Which is exactly why we let some of them escape," Harrison smiled. "Captain, you're authorized to proceed with Operation Ghost Hunter. Your success today has given us the perfect opening." The bridge crew straightened in their seats. Operation Ghost Hunter was something they trained for extensively, but never expected to actually implement. It was perhaps the most ambitious military operation ever attempted against the Syndicate. Rules of engagement? Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer. The gloves are off, Captain. The Syndicate crossed a line when they started targeting civilian ships in our territory. Show them the full capability of human military doctrine. Sarah's expression hardened. Understood, Admiral. We'll begin preparations immediately. After the transmission ended, Sarah turned to her crew. Lieutenant Rivera, start analyzing the data from those captured ships. I want to know every frequency they use, every protocol they follow. Commander Walsh, prepare the ship for extended stealth operations. We're going hunting. What about the disabled ships? Walsh asked. Alert the recovery fleet. They can handle salvage operations. Our mission is to follow those retreating vessels straight to their headquarters. Sarah's voice carried a note of anticipation. The Syndicate thinks they're running back to safety. They don't realize they're leading us exactly where we want to go. Over the next several hours, the Thunderbolt underwent a transformation. Its hull configuration shifted to minimize energy signatures, and all non-essential systems were powered down. They would be operating in what the crew called ghost mode, a state of near-total electronic silence. All preparations complete, Walsh reported. We're ready to begin pursuit. Sarah took her place in the command chair, feeling the familiar thrill of the hunt beginning. The Syndicate is about to learn another lesson about humanity. We're not just warriors, we're predators. And once we have your scent, we never lose it. The HSS Thunderbolt slipped away from the battlefield, becoming one with the darkness of space. They would follow the retreating pirates across sectors if necessary, gathering intelligence and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The Shadowclaw Syndicate had thought they were dealing with simple prey. Instead, they had awakened something far more dangerous, humanity's full military might. Plot an intercept course, Sarah commanded, but keep us at extreme range. Let them think they've escaped. Let them lead us right to their heart. The hunt had begun, and with it, the real war against the Shadowclaw Syndicate was about to unfold. 3 weeks of patient hunting had led to this moment. The HSS Thunderbolt hung silently in the void, its systems running at minimal power as Captain Sarah Chen observed the massive space station before them. The Shadowclaw Syndicate's main base of operations was impressive, a sprawling construct of crystalline spires and metallic domes, hidden within an asteroid field in the Perseus Arm. Final count on enemy vessels? Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper despite the fact that sound couldn't travel in space. 23 ships docked at the station, Rivera reported quietly, including the 3 we followed here. The rest must be their entire remaining fleet. And our reinforcements. Commander Walsh checked his tactical display. All in position, Captain. 5 Wraith-class destroyers, just like us, spread throughout the asteroid field. The Syndicate hasn't detected any of us. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The trap was set. For 3 weeks, they had followed the retreating pirates, watching as they regrouped with other Syndicate vessels, collecting data on their communications and movements. More importantly, they had allowed other human ships to quietly slip into position, using the same stealth technology that made the Thunderbolt so effective. Open a channel to all human vessels, Sarah commanded. Operation Ghost Hunter is now in effect. The response was immediate but silent. Throughout the asteroid field, 6 human warships simultaneously activated their primary systems. To the Syndicate sensors, it would appear as if threats had materialized from nowhere. Channel to the station, Sarah ordered. Let's give them one last chance. The communication system crackled to life, and Sarah spoke clearly and confidently. Shadowclaw Syndicate Command, this is Captain Chen of the Terran Federation. You are surrounded by human warships. Your entire fleet is trapped. Surrender now, or face complete annihilation. There was a long pause before a familiar metallic voice responded. Captain Chen, I should have known you would follow us. Archon Vexter's artificial tone carried a hint of resignation. But you are still outnumbered. Our station's defenses alone could destroy your small fleet. Numbers, Sarah replied, shaking her head. You're still thinking like a Vorkath, Arkshan. Still counting ships and comparing weapon yields. You never did understand what makes humanity different. As if on cue, every asteroid in the field larger than 100 meters suddenly lit up with energy signatures. What the Syndicate had dismissed as natural space debris were actually camouflaged weapon platforms, deployed weeks earlier by human stealth ships. You see, Arkan, while you were running back to your base, thinking you were safe, we were preparing this battlefield. Every retreat route you planned, every defensive position you established. We've been watching and countering them all. This isn't a battle. It's a checkmate. The Syndicate station's shields flared to life, and their docked ships began emergency launch procedures. But they were too late. The human fleet had positioned itself perfectly to exploit the gaps in their defense grid, gaps that 3 weeks of patient observation had revealed. All ships, execute primary strike plan, Sarah commanded. The coordinated attack that followed was a demonstration of everything humanity had learned about warfare over centuries of conflict. The Thunderbolt and its sister ships launched their cascade cannons simultaneously, each beam precisely targeted to overload specific sections of the station's shields. The hidden weapon platforms in the asteroids activated next, creating a web of gravitational distortions that trapped the launching Syndicate vessels in place. Their primary power grid is fluctuating, Rivera reported. Shield integrity failing across all sectors. Final warning, Arkshan. Sarah broadcast. Your technology is impressive, but technology alone isn't enough. Humanity survived and thrived in this galaxy because we never forgot the fundamental truths of warfare, patience, preparation, and the willingness to do whatever it takes to protect our own. On the main view screen, sections of the Syndicate station were going dark as their power systems failed under the coordinated assault. The trapped pirate ships, unable to maneuver effectively in the gravitational web, were being systematically disabled by precise shots from the human fleet. The art of war isn't about having the biggest guns, Sarah continued. It's about knowing when to wait, when to strike, and most importantly, knowing your enemy better than they know themselves. You thought humanity would be easy prey because our technology isn't as advanced as yours. Instead, you found out why we're the apex predators of this sector. Finally, Archon Vexter's voice returned, but the artificial confidence was gone. We surrender, Captain. The Shadowclaw Syndicate surrenders to the Terran Federation. Sarah nodded to Walsh, who began transmitting surrender protocols. A wise choice, Arkshan. Remember this day, and spread the word to others who might think to prey on human ships. We're not just another spacefaring species. We're humanity, and we protect our own. As her crew began coordinating with the other ships to secure the station and its fleet, Sarah reflected on the deeper message they had sent today. The galaxy was a dangerous place, filled with species that had better technology, stronger ships, and more advanced weapons. But humanity had something more valuable. The accumulated wisdom of countless conflicts, the ability to think beyond pure technological advantage, and the determination to protect their territory at any cost. The Shadowclaw Syndicate had learned this lesson the hard way. They wouldn't be the last.